Winning a freelance writing client is one thing. Keeping that client happy while you continue to work with them is another. So, we're going to manage our client expectations. We're going to set those boundaries. And I'm going to teach you how to excel through your project beyond just being like, oh, thank God they gave me some money and work. So, I'm Andy Ellis. I built a 6-figure freelance writing business, and now I teach other freelance writers how to build high earning businesses they adore without the overwhelm, stress, or burnout. We're going to go through 7 different things in this video that you can do to manage expectations and excel in your projects versus kind of, blowing it after you sign the contract, which happens to all of us. We all make mistakes, but I really want you to see that just signing a client is not the same thing as maintaining that exceptionalism through the project. So, number one, we're going to be clear about what's possible. So, from the very start of our contract all the way to the end, we are not going to oversell, overpromise, say they're going to be on the first page of Google or that SEO is going to be amazing and it's going to do all these things. And we're not going to take 100% responsibility for the project, especially when it comes to signing a client. We want to be on the same page. They want to have the motivation to continue working on that project. You shouldn't be driving 100% of like, we need to keep doing this and content is important. They should already know content is important. So we want to make sure we understand that and that we set expectations with things like being on the first page of Google. So SEO can take 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or a year or even more. So SEO is always changing. Google is changing their EAT principle. Now it's 2 E's instead of 1 E. AI is coming into the mix, so we don't want to make promises about how SEO is going to work for them and how fast, because it really depends on a lot of different factors. One of those that's really the most important is the quality of your content and it resonating with that audience. So you want to be very clear about what that is and manage the process versus saying like, oh, well, I'm just saying it takes 9 months because I want a 3-month contract. Be very clear about how it works and explain that. The next thing too is that I see this a lot with Runway and Wealth Lab students and with writers who write me every single week from, my weekly emails. You're not 100% responsible for the project. Someone is not dumping the work on you and then being like, it's your job, Johnson. Like, that's not a thing. So it's not like a full-time job where it's just like it's all your problem now. It's not like that. And even in a full-time job, you usually have other people on your team. Your mentality going into your work should be, this is teamwork. This is a collaboration. We're working together. This is why I think it's really important to put those kinds of phrases and words into your LinkedIn and website to attract those teamwork style clients. And if you want more teamwork focused clients, more clients who want to collaborate or work in a partnership capacity versus just dumping all the work on you, I would grab my free seasoned veteran cheat sheet. If you go to mandalis.com/cheat sheet, it'll tell you exactly the types of questions to answer in your LinkedIn and your website so you attract those clients who are on the same page about working together and taking 50% of the responsibility rather than dumping work on you. So mandyellis.com/cheat sheet, and you'll have some of the questions that you need to answer for your LinkedIn and website to attract the right clients so that you can work in a teamwork capacity. You can work together to really create fantastic content. You're not taking total ownership of all these things because you can't control when a client posts something or if they do it properly or if they delete something or if they don't do what you recommend, or even if you did the whole project yourself, you can't control what's going to happen. You can't control the outcome. So I want you to remember that this is like at most 50% responsibility. They have half and you have half, and you do your half with the best knowledge and skills that you have right now. And yes, as you excel as a writer, as you grow, you will get better. But the deal is like, you should not be in the position of your client just dumping something on you. And if something doesn't work out or it doesn't work as fast as they want, they just want to blame you for it. Like, that's not the deal. We don't want those clients. We want clients who assume responsibility for their part in the process and for the teamwork atmosphere that we're in. Number 2 here, when we're setting and managing these client expectations and really keeping and nurturing long-term work, we need to have a contract for that. We need to make sure that we're not ending up in these situations with scope creep, or that they're missing payment terms, or they don't understand like what the expectations are. We need to make sure that we're on this fair playing field, and that means we have a contract from the very beginning. So you're coming into this work with set deadlines, kind of the schedule, you have set how you communicate with each other. You have the scope of work in the contract, you have the payment terms in the contract. Some people have rounds of revisions in the contract. My contract says I will write until you're happy with it, and I haven't had that many issues with it. Like, I've probably had a couple where I did a bunch of revisions, but I just ask a lot of questions on calls and I ask for a lot of examples. So I haven't had to do a ton of revisions, but I know some writers end up with clients who want like 55 revisions. If that's something that you're worried about, put 2 or 3 rounds of revisions in your contract. You also need to have some kind of understanding of where you're going to communicate, how often, and then who's giving you feedback, who's part of the process. Is it just the person you talk to on the call, or is it also 3 other people? So we need to know what's going on. And some of these things, most of them need to be in your contract. So we need to have that scope of work, payment terms, anything about rights, anything about late payments. You can give a general idea, like, usually my deadlines are 2 weeks turnaround. If it's less than 2 weeks, it's subject to a rush fee. You can have a late payment fee. But I think for me, just working from that contract really helps you set the stage for, like, this is how we're working together. You can also put your work hours in there or when you'll respond to messages. I think that kind of helps. But we really want to be clear about those things to make sure we're delivering on our work and spending time on our work versus like futzing with all this extra stuff that can get woven in when you don't have a contract. Number 3, I think this is something that even though you have a contract, you need to stay flexible and adaptable because things will change. Your project will change. Your client may want to change the scope of work, or they may want to do this. You need to make sure that you update the contract if you're changing anything in it. Don't just be like, yeah, we'll just do that. You need to update the contract if you're changing anything in the scope of work or the payment terms or anything important. But you also need to maintain your boundaries. So clients can change their mind. They might want to swap this thing for the other. That's fine. You just need to make sure that when you have different deliverables, you send a new contract and get that all ironed out. You might need to make sure everything's in line, and that you are really being um, you're being helpful to their needs, but you're not like swapping things that don't make sense. Or you're like, this project is $10,000. We're swapping it for like a $2,000 project and then not updating anything in the contract. So you need to make sure that don't have those crazy expectations, but you're still working off of a contract, and um, that you still have these flexible, adaptable little things. Because, like I said, it's running a business, it's running a freelance writing business. Things will change, but we adapt with them with new contracts or new guidelines or new boundaries. Number 4, we are making sure that anytime we need a deadline extension, or anything where we need to change the contract or address an issue, we do that as soon as we can. We make sure we're using direct and kind communication. I think this is really important when you're dealing with a contract change or a deadline extension. You tell your clients as early as you can, but that you're being direct and clear, transparent, honest, kind about it. I think that really is something that a lot of clients appreciate when it comes to dealing with, working with freelance writers versus full time, and it really makes the project go really well. Number 5, well, sometimes this is hard to do, but I want you to do your best to wow the client. I know sometimes you're in the middle of just doing a project and you're like, I gotta get it done. But do the best you can to wow your client. If they give you an example that you feel like could do better in terms of the writing quality, do better. If you are looking at, what they want to do and you think there's a better way to do it, tell them and see what they think. I think for me, when I'm trying to over deliver, but not over promise, I'm looking for little opportunities to improve on the quality of something, or the explanation, or the quotes, or the research, or the detail. Maybe it's like the images they're using or the design. I'm looking for little things that I can do in there that will really help them have a better piece of content, and then it's also a better sample for me. So I know that sometimes it can be really difficult to wow your client, but I want you to look for those opportunities. When you look for those opportunities, you usually end up succeeding somewhere along the line. There usually ends up being a client who gives you a great testimonial, or you end up with a great clip, or you have something where it very clearly is over delivered and they want to keep working with you. They keep building that long-term relationship, they refer you, all that good juicy stuff that we want. Number 6, okay, if your client says something nice about your work, thank them, and ask for a testimonial. So remember that your clients don't have to say anything nice. They don't ever have to compliment you. They don't ever have to do anything nice, but they will. And when they do, make sure that you thank them and ask for testimonial. So when we're asking for the testimonial, we are saying, hey, I usually have kind of like a format. Hey, would you, thank you so much for the compliment on my work. Would you be willing to write 2 to 4 sentences as a testimonial about what we worked on together, the goals for the project or the work, how I helped you, any results or wins that we've gotten, or things that you're driving towards, like KPIs or goals, and then why you would recommend me to other companies like yours. So that way you have a very specific way to ask for a testimonial, but we're we're piggybacking off of them liking the work. The other thing you can do too is mention that go off referrals. Hey, my business thrives on referrals. Would you be willing to recommend me to other businesses like yours, or other business owner, or other, businesses, other people in the same position as you, or something like that. So whenever someone says something nice, make sure you thank them. Make sure you're not just like, oh no, I'm just a writer, like whatever. Make sure you thank them and you use that as an opportunity to ask for a testimonial and referrals. It's a really important thing. Number 7, if everything's going to shit, if you cannot communicate with this client, if you're not on the same page, if you can't figure things out and you're getting a ton of edits, which we all have gotten, or things are just not working out, it's too challenging, it's just not the right fit, drop the client. This is why we have our contract. In the contract, you'll have a clause that'll say, hey, client or freelancer, gives 15 days notice to cancel the contract, some version of that. So this for me is really useful when you're in a situation where you have a client where you're like trying everything you know how to do and they still don't like it, or they want something different that you can't provide, or it's just not a good fit. We always want to have an out in our contract. So if you ever want to do this, you would invoke the out, but you would say something like, it sounds like we're not quite the right fit for each other, or we're not on the same page when it comes to this content. So it seems like we should end our contract, and you can, so that you can find the right writer for your project. So you would want to say something about like, hey, we're not quite the right fit, or we're not on the same page, or it seems like we're missing each other. So maybe it would make sense to end the contract so that you can find the right writer for your needs. We want to kind of combine those things together so that it's clear we want to end the contract, but also that like this is just not working. And I think that I've used it before, where it's just this challenging situation where you're not on the same page, or you don't like the same things in the content, or they're giving you all this feedback where you're like, what are they even talking about? So worst case, you would drop the client, but when you're managing the expectations or building relationships, you still want to be building relationships with the right clients for you. You don't want to just like build relationships just to have them. This is someone where, like, if they referred someone to you, you wouldn't want to work with them no matter how much money they gave you. So you want to be really particular, and it's okay to drop clients. You're going to end up getting rid of clients, or firing them, or dropping them throughout your career. It happens. Even if you try your best, even if, like I said, you try to wow them and you do a couple things, it's just like, the way that I always talk about it is like, you have a party bus, and the party bus has all these amazing snacks and drinks, but that person is like, ew, I don't like any of these things. And you're like, what? These are amazing. And they're like, slushies are gross. And you're like, no, but there's pretzels. And they're like, I'm allergic. Right? It's that whole, like, it's a whole thing. So when you get on this party bus and they don't like the party bus, they should just get off the party bus, and we can go find someone else who is, happy on this party bus. So I think when we're over delivering but not over promising, I think these are really important things. When we're clear, we have contracts to rely on, we're making sure we still have some flexibility and adaptability as a freelancer. We just make sure we update the contract and expectations. We ask for extensions if we need them, but we're clear and transparent and honest with our communication. And we take little steps to like really thank our clients when they're nice to us, because they don't have to say nice things. They don't. And we can have that as an opportunity to get a testimonial or referrals. So I hope that this has been helpful so far. And next time we're going to be talking about how to actually handle feedback and revisions. This is something that I think is very critical in the writing process. We need to know how we're taking this feedback, when you should drop feedback and when you should really incorporate it, how to handle it gracefully, all that good stuff that comes with really building long-term relationships with the right people. So we're going to go over that. So I hope this is helpful, and I will see you in the next video.